Okay, so we've heard a lot in the morning session about the need to produce graduates with the right skills for the labour market in emerging economies, and we've also heard about the some of the dissatisfaction that employers have with the skills of graduates. So I was hoping to ask the panel to make some introductory remarks really focused on whether they felt research institutions in their country or region produce graduates with the skills that are needed by the workforce, and if not, why not? I was wondering if İhsan could start. İhsan, I know you have some slides, and then we'll move along the panel. But if you'd like to start us off, please do.
Thank you. It is nice to be here. I'm very honored to be invited for Times Higher Education Summit. And also I thank the University of Rabat. You know, this morning our keynote speaker has talked about the changes, lots of changes. The world is undergoing today very rapid and significant fundamental changes. Of course, this affects all layers of the society. The way that we run the business, and significantly different than 10 years ago. Today we talk about Industry 4.0, Society 5.0. In a way, we live in a digital economy where the data is even more important than the oil. Industries, of course, need to adapt these changes and create the changes. How about the universities? There are very good examples, excellent cases for innovative universities which creates the changes in the higher education system. But generally speaking, most of the universities, or in general the education sector, fail to adapt these changes. I think this is basically due to the fact that academics resist the changes, not the students, but academics. They don't leave their comfort zone. For that reason, even though we have some advances, some technological advances in terms of LMS, online technologies, some add-on, the systems, flipped classroom, the way that system more or less the same as 1,000 years ago. By the way, can I also show you the slides? Can you a little bit turn down the light a little bit? Would it be possible that you can turn down the light? Yeah. All right. Yeah. We have already talked about the changes that the keynote speaker also addressed, and we are talking about the old traditional way of doing it, teaching and the research. You see, academics in general in our system, in our education system, are disconnected from each other. They are disconnected from the students. They are also disconnected from the society. How about faculties, schools, or departments? They act independently. In a way, departments operate in a silo mentality. Since the students' expectations are not met, usually the students are demotivated and they are aimless. As a result, a big skill gap is widening, and youth employment is becoming one of the serious major global issues. unemployment rate of the youth is about 13% worldwide, and the skill mismatch is about 40%. What to do? What we have to do? Of course, we have to model our system, remodel our system. We have to make a major revision, not the minor revision by simple add-ons. The revision should be from the core. We need to train our students using the 21st century skills via competency-based curriculums. What we have to do, I think we have to take a new approach. New way of doing the things should be implemented. First of all, third mission of the universities or higher education systems should be placed forefront, even though it has been ignored for many years, many hundred years. It should be considered. And secondly, mission of education should be changed. Second mission should be changed from the teaching environment to the learning environment. And research mission should also be changed in a way that we do the research without disconnected from the real life. By considering the global issues, we have to approach the problems in a multidisciplinary way. More than that, I think it is time to integrate or blend education, research together so that we create the maximum societal impact. Remodeling, of course, can be done in many ways, especially for the research universities is very important. For emerging countries in which most of the universities are relatively young compared to other universities in the world, I think that it is much easier to adapt to the changes and implement some new methodologies. That's the advantage for emerging countries. You know, we have to use this advantage, and we have to increase the graduate student body. Well, one of my slides are missing, but I will just. We have to focus on real-life problems, R&D and innovation, rather than just writing, say, the papers and, you know, and books. We have to train and retain our national talents. We shouldn't lose them. You know, one of the biggest problems in emerging countries is that we have a limited, well-qualified human resources. We have the difficulty of training them, and we have to also keep them. We shouldn't lose them to the West or whatever East, the Asia. We have to keep in the country. That's very, very important. And we should have also the fair and sustainable systems in the higher education area. It should be fair and also sustainable. Should be transparent to everyone, to the students. We have to also take into account the needs of the students. We should let the students even develop their own the courses and the curriculum. And of course, we should also attract international talented people and also We should get the international investment from the rich countries so that emerging countries can develop themselves better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks very much for that introduction, Ihsan. And Raj, I wonder if I could turn to you, and feel free to remain seated if you want, just to introduce Raj. As many of you know, he's the founding Vice-Chancellor of OP Jindal Global University in India. I was wondering if you could sort of make some opening remarks, Raj, particularly focusing on that question of whether the graduates produced by universities in India are well prepared for the job market, and if not, what the major problems are.
Yes, I think it is, well, first I think it's important to bring to bear the idea of a research university, and it's important for emerging economies to recognize that not all universities need to be research universities. These are very difficult and important choices, but governments need to make those choices, people have to make those choices, so that the mission for which universities get created are better identified and universities are able to fulfill their goals and aspirations in a more meaningful manner. And the equally important aspect of that is that at the end of the day, there is an expectation out of a university education. Inevitably, university education should lead to employability, but also should empower individuals to seek meaningful opportunities beyond the domain of jobs. And that's also about the goal of research universities. In fact, research universities should be at the forefront of new forms of discoveries in almost all areas of knowledge. They should be addressing the big challenges of our time. Speaking about the Indian context, I think it is only fair to say that the diversity of Indian institutions and its growth and evolution in the last, say, 70 years has only led to our recognition now more than ever that we need to focus on quality and excellence. While there are a few selected institutions which have been advancing the mission of quality and excellence, the large number of institutions have been having significant challenges with regard to quality and excellence, which has directly impinged the ability of these institutions to fulfill the aspect of employability effectively, because there are misplaced objectives and lost expectations, which has resulted.
Okay, thanks very much, Raz. We'll move to our third speaker. Mustafa Bazmina is president of EuroMed University of. He's also the chancellor of the Hassan II Academy of Science Technology, and before that he had an academic career in Canada. Mustafa, turning to you, I was wondering, whether you felt, in Morocco and North Africa in general, whether graduates were well prepared for the workplace, and if not, why not?
I was saying that this morning we had some comments from Alan, and they share with him the idea that there is a big mismatch between the change we are witnessing in the businesses, in the market, and the change we are witnessing in the university, in the educational system. In fact, in the era of globalization, which is characterized mainly by a massive use of digital technologies, we have a rapid change in the businesses, in the market. However, in the university, we are still functioning with old-fashioned, with the professor in front of students, and we are doing research really in a very old-fashioned. There are several studies, and you have mentioned this morning, that many of the jobs we know today will disappear in 10, 20 years. And it will be replaced by new jobs, of which the majority we don't know. So the question is, which kind of curricula should we put in place to really give employability, but not only just employability, is really to help to create and to produce good citizens. In our university, to participate to this, we have defined 7 pillars on which we build all the curricula. First pillar is bilingualism. All students of our university have to master at least 2 languages additionally to their mother tongue. And we consider that Moroccans, they are French speakers, and they have to really master English, which is mandatory, and then Spanish, Italian, or other German or other languages. Very important. Courses in English, but also specialty courses in English. Second, some courses on history, on civilizations, on philosophy, on critical thinking. And this is very, very important, especially nowadays, which is characterized by the exacerbation of the ideology of radicalization, terrorism, but also the culture of rejection, of identity, withdrawal, with xenophobia. And this course is really, it broadens the horizons of students, because at the end of the day, we want really good citizens who can share the human values, we can really partner with others. In Morocco, you know, we are 14 kilometers from Spain. We are neighbors, and we should work with our neighbors, both from south and from the north. Third pillar is really mobility. All our students that are enrolled in 5-year term program, they have to spend 1 year in one country and 6 months in another country. With the end, at the end, they have double diplomas. Fourth, entrepreneurial skills, and given some courses given by some specialists from industry that are coming to the university, and they help students also not only giving courses, but create their own jobs. And we have created an incubator on the university campus, and we'll bring 3 helps to students. First, we bring financing of creating a startup or a spin-out. Second, we train them for on management. And third, we connect them with the market to have the first order. Fifth pillar is massive use of new technologies of information and communication, not only for the persons who are enrolled in science and in engineering, but also for people who are in humanities and social sciences. Very, very important. Sixth pillar is social implication. All students, they have to make a project that has some social impact, and they get credits for that. Seventh pillar is sustainability. And they have all the majority of the courses, they have some sustainable development component. On these 7 pillars, we built programs, technical programs, because at the end of the day, what you need good citizens first. You need students with open minds, not only a mind that is full of information and knowledge, but open mind. Third, you need students who understand the common challenges and the common issues, who master languages, several languages, who are aware of sustainable development and of social responsibility. For research, in our university, we have also defined 6 pillars for research. First one, I will go fast. First one is artificial intelligence. Second is digital numerics and digital technologies. 3, 3D printing. 4, renewable energies. 6, material sciences. And 5, material science. And 6 is everything has to do with bio. And this gives students some opportunities to work with industry and with the market.
Great. Thanks very much, Mr.
So I'm delighted to participate at this panel session and would like to thank Mohammed V University for inviting me. I'm sure that I will learn more from the panel and from your question that you will learn from me. But I am very happy to share our little experience on training and education in Morocco. As you may know, I am director of the training center in Rabat. This center is an agreement between the World Organization Gastroenterology Organization and the Ministry of Higher Education. And this center is open to all French-speaking physicians who want to improve their skills in the field of hepatology and gastroenterology. This is very important for two reasons. The first one is because of the speed of new knowledge. We cannot cover all the new knowledge during the cycle, academic cycle. So this is why education and training are very important. And the second reason, from my point of view, is about brain drain. When you put training on site locally in the university, you reduce or you avoid this brain drain, so people stay on site. And this is very important because of the impact of the health system. What we are doing in these centers, we are teaching many skills. As you know, in medicine, simulation are very important. We are equipped in a large way by tools who can be used by trainees, and they work as in real life. And this is very important because you avoid mistakes with the patients. We teach also how to be a trainer. And this is also very important because we never do this in our curricula. How to have an effective communication, how to design a research project, how to have a good presentation, how to make an abstract for review, how to make a publication, and all these tools are very important. If I talk about this center, which is an oldest one, is the second after the center of Soweto in South Africa. And it's working very well because we organize our 70th course this year. It can be used as a model for other specialized. We don't have time to go into details, but I will be more than happy to answer if there is any question. Thank you very much.
In those opening remarks, we've heard sort of a range of opinions on the sort of skills that research universities need to be equipping graduates with for emerging economies. We've heard just now from Naima the sort of emphasis on practical experience. From Mustafa, we've heard sort of an emphasis on specific skills in STEM disciplines, those research areas of expertise he was highlighting, as well as a sort of a broader civic education. And at the start from Ihsan, we heard sort of perhaps a more classic view of graduate skills around critical thinking, around communication, and around leadership. Raj, I don't know if I could perhaps come to you. I mean, what do you think the skill set that graduates need to leave university with to be of value to the workplace should be? What are those sort of key attributes, maybe sort of coming down on an opinion on what some of your fellow panelists have mentioned? And I wondered whether you had a view on whether this was a universal graduate skill set across the world, or whether emerging economies had particular priorities that meant that the skill sets that they need to be equipping their graduates with is different to what we find in, as I say, the rest of the world.
Yes, I think that globalization has created an opportunity for graduates around the world to look at the world as a possibility for them to pursue a variety of careers. It's increasingly going to be the case that students who are going to graduate out of universities of where all of us are from are going to be looking at job opportunities in different parts of the world, or even in companies, corporations, organizations, business enterprises, which are not necessarily has its origins from their own country. So in some ways, we are indeed looking at globally acceptable an integrated set of skills and even knowledge systems that can equip the students to work in multiple settings. And I do believe that universities have not come to terms with this fact that there will be, they're going to inherit a situation where the jobs that they're going to have probably don't exist as of now. And hence, it's absolutely important that you go back to, you know, the more fundamental issues of what kind of a world they're going to inherit and how they're going to respond to themselves. So one of the things that they will inevitably have to learn is to be able to not only tolerate and appreciate diversity, but also celebrate diversity in all forms and manifestations. Whatever educational system that they're going to have should recognize that they are going to be working with people who may not be similar to themselves in terms of language or religion or you know, many other backgrounds. Secondly, I think it's also important for them to be much more nimble when it comes to transferability of skills across sciences to humanities to social sciences. I think it's unfortunate that most of our education systems have significantly bracketed and have promoted lesser towards initiating interdisciplinarity. In fact, all our universities have to have a change in approach to it. In my own alma mater, I'm a graduate of Delhi University, Oxford University, Harvard University, and University of Hong Kong, and I can be very candid with you, even the world's topmost universities have not created an institutional ecosystem and environment to promote interdisciplinarity. Today, more than ever, our students need to be given opportunities to have a sense of the widest range of disciplinary introductions so that they can prepare for the future. Obviously, the ones which are inevitably need to be promoted, he mentioned about language skills. I do believe that critical thinking, ability to write effectively and contribute and engage at a larger level. But one of the things that we are missing in action is that understanding complexity. I think this is going to be the most difficult aspect to teach in a classroom setting. People are going to be working in more unpredictable environments. Uncertainty is going to be inevitable. And I think students need to be told about their contribution towards how they can absorb and respond to complexity. And these things need to be integrated into our curriculum. I'm not for once saying that we need to have a separate curriculum. The pedagogy of teaching and learning has to change with the view to infusing these attributes into the learning process.
Thanks. So we've already got a long list there of attributes which we feel we need to be equipping graduates with. Ihsan, I wonder if I could come back to you, because nevertheless, if you listen to what employers are saying, and if you look at levels of graduate unemployment in many emerging economies, there does seem to be a sense that universities are failing to equip many of their graduates with these skills. I don't know if you had any thoughts about what the major challenges were and the reasons why universities and indeed graduates, you know, seem to be falling short.
I think, Chris, I think the
Microphone is not working.
university is one of the last stop in their education system, you know, for the students. Primary. Oh, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. We always talk about the universities, higher education system, but I think that the university and higher education system should be discussed within the context of entire education system, you know. Primary, middle school, and the high schools education is also very important. To me I think what we are lacking today is our students do not pursue passions, do not pursue dreams. I think that is what is missing, dreams. If the students don't pursue the dreams, they cannot be a research scientist. They cannot be R&D staff, you know what I mean? I think that we have to design the education system as a whole, entire system, and the universities is just one of the last stop. You know, it is already shaped. I mean, the students are already shaped when they come to the universities. But so the previous steps, education systems are very important in that sense. Another reason what we have the difficulty is we are too rigid in the universities, you know. As I told you, academics are really conservative and resist the changes. I think we got to overcome this. Students are ready. And one final note is, even though we run the research universities, we shouldn't ignore the teaching. And teaching system should be also remodeled so that students should learn by doing, by designing, by themselves, and peer-to-peer learning stuff are very important, and we have to emphasize. That means we have to change the education in the university system from, as I told you, from the teaching to the learning environment. And there are very good examples in the world that we can mention. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much. I'll walk back down and take the microphone back off you. Thanks very much for you obviously starting there to discuss some of the ways in which we can potentially solve that, some of the techniques that we can employ. Mustafa, I wonder if I can just come back to you. Do you have any thoughts on why universities are apparently falling short, and what sort of techniques that you'd like to see universities employ to be able to improve the skill set of their graduates?
Okay, we are really talking about universities, but the problem is not only universities. At the university, we are receiving products that are coming from schools. In fact, the problem should start from elementary schools, where the education should not be based on absorption of the knowledge, but rather on techniques like inquiry-based education, critical thinking, rationality. And then if we do this at elementary schools, then our job will be easier when we receive the product at the university. I do agree with my colleague that the world is very complex. And we should teach complexity to students, even for research. You know, the innovations nowadays are at the interface between disciplines, between biology, between physics, between nanotechnology, even humanity and social sciences. And in science, I am a person that's coming from physics. And we know that we really learned in physics to think just in physics. And that was wrong in my perspective. We should really give the general skills to students, even in research, to respond to this societal and society needs. We should solve really complex problems. And I do agree with Alan this morning. He was talking about adaptability. And this is very crucial. In any kind of jobs, nowadays, we should adapt. We are changing. I was a person coming from pure physics, and then I changed it to material science, and then I started working with people that coming from biology and from medicine. And this switch, you cannot do it if you don't have a general culture. You have this interdisciplinarity and multidisciplinarity, and this is what should teach our students, even in their approach in the field of research.
Raj, I know you wanted to come in briefly, so I'll let you just come in there.
One of the pedagogical innovations need to be implemented more robustly is experiential learning. I think most universities are very much reluctant to implement experiential learning, and I'm not talking about internships, I'm talking about integrating experiences in the field to their curriculum and to their course structure and to their teaching and to the entire learning experience. And once you do that, students are exposed to the real world and or even able to relate to what they are learning to what is happening in society. And that's something which is critical, because increasingly, one of the responses that many employers do say is that they are not connected to the real world. And this connectedness to the real world can't take place just when they graduate. It has to become part of the entire learning experience, and that's why experiential learning becomes absolutely critical from their beginnings.
And talking of the real world, one of the themes that came out of this morning's sessions very strongly for me was around the role that industry should have in the design of curricula and in the content which students are learning. I'd be interested to hear views from the panel on to what extent industry should be shaping university curricula. Naima, I don't know if I can come to you, whether that's something you'd be able to offer any thoughts on the role that industry and specialists in the field should have to university education.
Yes. Of Training Center, I haven't talked about how it works. And to be successful, we need to be open to other university as well as to the industry. This is very important for two reasons. Maybe it's critical in medicine because of the, we don't like to work a lot closely with the industry, but we need the support of the industry. All this training is very expensive, and if you want to be effective, you need to have the support of the industry, but with respect to the ethical and to the rule of this partnership. But it's very useful and very important for us.
I'd be very keen to open up to questions from the floor now, if anyone has any. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be really grateful if they could raise their hands, and we'll get a microphone to you. Sorry, were there any questions? Okay, well, perhaps I'll continue with a question or two more myself, and then we'll return to the audience. I guess one of the questions that could be asked is, how are we going to measure the success of the sorts of changes that we've been discussing? If we are looking to improve the skill set that graduates are leaving university with, how do we measure that success, and how do we measure whether industry is satisfied with the quality of the graduates that it's receiving? Does anyone have any thoughts on how we might best go about that?
Chris, one of the measures is the skill mismatch. Skill mismatch is measured by some independent agencies. Currently, it is all around the world. It is 40%, which is very high. In some countries, like in Turkey, it is more than that, even 67%. That is the one measure that we can use it. And the other one is the youth employability and unemployment, in a way. If we can reduce it, we are successful. If we reduce the skill mismatch, we are successful. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sorry,
these are some of the measures.
Yes, in my opinion, we should not only make the industry happy, we should make the society happy.
Yes.
I will give you an example. The terrorists of the September 11th were good engineers in mechanical engineering, electrical engineering. Their company, they were very happy with them, but they were not good citizens, in my opinion. The society should be happy. If we have some assessment to do, is not only coming from industry, but also from the society as a whole. We have good citizens. We are working together. My colleague was saying that our students, they will work with different people coming from different regions of the world, different cultures, different religions, different colors. This is what we are. Not just making happy the industry. Of course, our aim also is to respond to the industry demand. And it's finished. The time with the university was that castle in the forest where from the city we see some smoke, and inside you have some good thinkers are making philosophy on the city. Now, university is for the city, by the city, at the service of the city. In our university, we call it University. It's
Yes.
C-I-T-Y. So, and we have many people from industry also working with us at the university. And in the future, industry and the university will be merged together in a kind of, I don't know which form it will take, but we will go for that. But again, our aim is not only just making products, it's making human beings with some common values, with some who can share with others, who can collaborate with others, who can really discuss with others, who can co-construct in partnership.
Yes, yeah, I totally agree with him. I agree with him, yes, because the problem with the industry, it's a big problem. So, we need them, but not totally.
Okay. I mean, sorry, Raj, do you want to come in briefly?
I just want to mention that many things that really count may not get measured, and many things that we measure do not really count.
Yes.
So it's very important for us to recognize what
Each
we
life.
want to really measure and what really counts. This is particularly important for a university.
That's Einstein counts.
It's a social science comment.
I mean, so far we've been talking about universities and thinking particularly about maybe the first degree that someone takes in their higher education experience. But clearly we can see from concerns about skill mismatch and graduate unemployment that there are many people who are already in the workplace who don't, or in the job market, who don't necessarily have the skills which employers would like them to have. What role do universities have in assisting those individuals and assisting society more broadly to ensure that people who are looking for jobs and may have graduated from these universities many years ago, can be retrained or somehow redirected to be of use to society and the economy? What role do universities have in that debate? I don't know if anyone wants to come in. Raj, do you want to start us off?
The existing model of universities doing what is known as continuing education and executive education is unfortunately with a view to making money and resources to that. Nowhere I know of a place where there is a meaningful attempt to what you talk in terms of retraining people with contemporary skills. Honestly speaking, this becomes purely a resource issue for universities to do it. There is a case for it because, as we know, a large number of people, for a variety of reasons, they need to be retrained and reskilled, and they might have the necessary academic qualifications, may not be relevant for workforce. Now, one can argue that whether universities are the best place or community colleges could be one idea, because community colleges are historically well positioned, and even their approach towards education is based upon a certain type of skilling that makes individuals more directly employable, more immediately available for fulfilling the skill needs. And they could be a place where we could engage more effectively for this purpose.
Can I add a few? Yeah, I would like to add a few things. I think, Chris, one important thing is that we have to change the role of the academics. Our faculty members, our academics, do not play a mentorship very well, you know. They are heavily involved with the teaching and the research. They do not, act as a mentor for students. That's one thing we should encourage our faculty members taking initiative and active role in, shaping up the career of the students. The second thing is the career services in the universities are very good at, If these services are provided by some professional people, then, you can shape up and you can guide and you can, somehow redirect the students to the right way, That's another instrument that we should use heavily.
Okay, that's very helpful. As I did say, I was keen to get questions from the audience and to keep the conversation going. So if I could have a show of hands, I've got 2 questions which we'll take both of them and then invite the panel to give their views. We've got one at the front and then a gentleman about half the way back. If I could ask questioners to introduce themselves and their affiliation. And as I say, we'll take 2 questions before coming back to the panel.
I'm Mamdouh Shukri. I'm the president of York University, Canada. This has been wonderful. This is what you have been saying is almost music to my ear. In fact, I tell you that you probably covered 80% of what I intended to say tomorrow. So I hope we'll still have some audience tomorrow. But let me tell you this. You are all absolutely right. Rate of change is phenomenal. We need to prepare students to become global citizens. We need them to understand or appreciate the area of specialization, yet to have broader knowledge through human and social sciences. We need to have them learn how to apply the knowledge. We need global sensitivities, and all of these things are absolutely true. And to be very honest, I have been hearing the same thing, and I've been saying the same thing for a few years now. Why aren't we doing it? You are all presidents and vice chancellor of universities. I have been doing the job 10 years. So we all know that. Why we are not doing it? What are the major hurdles that you see on your way to implement what you're talking about?
That's an excellent question.
Yes.
Can we take that question about half the way back, please? Sorry, do you need to switch that microphone on?
Graduate support services, which I think maybe I would have loved to hear more. What's the function or the role of graduate support services in the university in terms of skills development and linking to industry, which for research and innovation, there is the innovation and tech offices which play that leading role for which teaching and research, for which teaching does not really happen in that space. For some work we did in South Africa, there is a wide range among universities in terms of the capacity of these career graduate support offices. In one university, you have about 13 staff. In one career support service, and in other university, you might have 1 or 2. And to what extent does it hamper or affect the kind of graduates and the linkage between the university and industry in terms of preparing graduates for employment? So maybe the panel can also talk about these career graduate services. Thank you.
Thanks for that. So 2 questions there. One on, we've been saying all of this, why isn't it happening? And the other on the role of career support services. And certainly there's an interesting debate to be had about how much of this skill development should be in the curriculum and how much should be provided additionally, for example, by the sorts of offices that the questioner asked about there. Perhaps if I'll invite the panel to offer their views, Ihsan, if you want to start us off, and we'll move along the panel.
Yeah, that's the good comment. I mean, we have been talking about these issues for many years, but not doing anything. I think we are trying to do. We have been doing that for some years, and there are very good examples as well in the world. If I give an example from my university has been established to be able to role model or kind of pioneer of the third generation universities in Turkey by saying that, how much we have done, how much progress we have done. Well, not of course as planned we have done, but we are going there, That's why I am over and over again saying that the biggest obstacle in front of us is the academics. They resist the changes because they don't want to leave their comfort zone. Students are very ready. We have courses in the university that starts in the factory. All the 14 weeks, it ends up in the factory, We have weeks in the university, entire university, lecture-free weeks. Lecture-free. So the instructors have to take the cover, whatever the material, without lecturing, We are going there, Smaller is better. If you are smaller, if you have a new university, you can make the changes easily. But we have been doing, and see what happens in the next couple of years. In fact, for example, I have received the government budget from the Ministry of Development for this university project to implement it. My original plan was 4 years, but now I'm guessing 8 years or 10 years.
That's great, yeah, plenty of work to be done, I'm sure. Raj, can I invite you, and if I could invite panelists to keep their responses brief, because I'd very much like to get another round of questions in, if there's possible to do that.
Well, we are very fortunate. Our university is only 9 years old. I am the founding Vice-Chancellor. It makes a huge difference for us to start everything from scratch. Global is our middle name. That essentially meant that everything that we do was, formulated with the view to integrating it with the world at large. We infused interdisciplinarity from day one. We created opportunities for students and faculty to come together. There are no separate buildings for schools. It's an integrated campus. So in some ways, it actually helps a lot if you start from, new, and then you don't have pre-existing structures to deal with. And also, I think it makes a huge difference. I must say that the kind of faculty members we brought together were not only adaptable, but also believed in that shared vision of the things that we talked about. I think, again, we are very fortunate that our benefactor, Mr. Naveen Jindal, who contributed to the creation of the university, not only gave money, but ensured academic freedom and autonomy, which is not the typical scenario in many private universities, both in India and around the world. I think there are a specific set of circumstances which allowed us to do what we're doing, and that makes us a very unique university.
That's great. If anyone else has, I'll come to the rest of the panel in a moment. If anyone else has any other questions, if they could show their hands, I'll try to get a mic to you while our other panelists are answering. I can see that there's one halfway back on the far side and there's one at the front there. But perhaps, Mustafa, we've got a couple of questions outstanding there.
Just to answer his question.
Yeah, and there's also the one about sort of the role of career support services and that sort
very
of
short.
debate. Yeah.
The same thing. We are very young, and we were lucky also, fortunate to really implement what I was saying. We are really doing this. By the way, our university, which is the EuroMediterranean University of Fas, it's not a Moroccan university 100%. It's really a regional university, and you come to our university, really you will feel international environment. We have professors, faculty members from Canada, from Germany, from UK, from Spain, from Senegal, from Cameroon, from Portugal, from Italy, from Belgium, and they are living here in Morocco. And we are very happy with that. 46 of our faculty members are foreigners. 53 of all our staff are women. And we are very happy with that.
Good.
Women. 53 of our staff are women. That's very important.
And are they working well?
Yes.
Good.
Yes. Yes, very important. Very important to give the opportunity to women. Women, believe me, I am not saying this just for making happy women. They are more efficient than men, at least in Morocco. They are more efficient. Women are more efficient, they give deliverables. At least into my experience.
Okay, that's good to hear. Perhaps, Naima, if I could just ask you to sort of hold your thoughts for a moment, because I'd like to very quickly get those last questions in, and then I'll come to you first to answer those questions, if that's okay. So we had one halfway back on the that side, and there was one at the front here. In fact, I can see the microphone is in place here, so let's take this one first, and then we'll go over there. Sorry, if you could just introduce yourself, and if I could ask you to keep your question very brief, I'd be very grateful.
Hello, thank you for your intervention, very important. Yannis Karakasis from University of Crete, Greece. So there was a lot of discussion regarding the skills like adaptability, group work, and originality, and so on. Do you think that this is something which is transferable through education at that level, or is something which is more cultural and should be part of the earlier education of people? And what if you have somebody who is brilliant in, let's say, biochemistry, but he's very lonely and very difficult to work with within a group? How would you evaluate this against the other? And what should be done within the university to promote it or to change it?
Okay, that's very helpful. If I could take that question back there very quickly, and then I'll ask one or two of our panelists to give some very quick answers to that.
Yes, thank you very much, Professor Mohamedi Nadia, Université Mohamed V. I just want to know if we have to follow this renew process, how can we prioritize the steps? What is, in Claire, what is the first step to do and how we can do it? And sorry for my English.
Okay, thanks for that. So questions there about whether we need to start earlier on developing these skills, and then for institutions to make those changes, what the first steps they need to take are. Naima, I don't know if you wish to go first, if you have any thoughts, and then I may ask one or two other panel members very quickly. But if I could ask you to keep it brief.
I agree what we have said by the panelists, and also by it's very difficult to harmonize from country to country. We have the same experience from the training center, because we are in charge of up to 30 countries, mainly from Africa. What you are doing, for example, in North Africa is different from the other countries. And in this situation, there is many ideas, but how to make this idea doing well, it's difficult. Sometimes it's a political decision, political large meaning of the word, and you cannot change as quick as you want to do.
Okay, I'll just ask if either of the panel members have answers. I appreciate we've got a question about career support services, which didn't really get an answer, and there's also the other question about whether we need to start earlier. I don't know if any of the panel have some. Raj, do you want to just try to answer them very quickly, please?
For a long time, universities never had this. In fact, it will be frowned upon in universities for it to have career officers and preparation of CVs and things like that. But today, at least for the last decade or so, universities are increasingly creating opportunities for their own students and potentially the graduates, and so career services become a norm in most institutions. It used to be much more stronger in business schools and lesser in humanities and social sciences, but now more and more universities are creating career officers, not only because of jobs, but also providing opportunities for higher education aspirations of the students. So career support becomes a very critical aspect. In fact, resources need to be provided by the university for having an effective career services office, because it's not just about getting jobs, but it's also helping students to make informed decisions about their future. Most of the students, particularly after the undergraduation, are really still figuring out what they want to do. A more nuanced way of engaging with the students can help them to make the right choices.
Okay, I'm sorry, I appreciate we've got questions and panelists who'd like to continue this discussion, but we are sadly out of time, so I'm going to have to curtail the discussion there. I'm sure the panelists will be around during the break to continue these discussions. But we've got a very interesting keynote coming up, which I know will pick up on many of these discussions, so there may well be the chance to continue those discussions then. But if I could ask you, therefore, to join me in thanking our panel members, Naima Amrani, Mustafa Bismina, Raj Kumar, and Ihsan Sabuncuoğlu.